Politics needs votes. Politics needs your mind. Politics needs human beings. Politics needs lives. That's why, my friend, it's an evidence. Politics is violence.
Manu Chao, Politics Kills, here on Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Sharif Abdel-Qaddous.
We turn now to Mexico, where spiraling drug violence appears to have hit U.S. officials for the first time. In the Mexican border city of Ciudad Juárez, a U.S. consular employee and her husband were shot dead on Saturday while driving in their SUV. Their one-year-old baby was found unharmed in the back seat. In a separate incident nearby, the husband of a Mexican employee at the U.S. consulate was shot dead. The shootings are believed to be the first deadly attacks on U.S. officials and their families by Mexico's powerful drug organizations. The State Department has authorized government employees at 6 U.S. consulates in northern Mexico to send their family members out of the area because of concerns about rising drug-related violence. The FBI, meanwhile, has sent a team of agents to investigate the killings.
Overall, nearly 50 people died over the weekend in Mexico in drug gang violence, the latest victims of a conflict that's killed nearly 19,000 people since Mexican President Felipe Calderón took office in 2006. The U.S. has backed Calderón with hundreds of millions of dollars in military training and equipment, but critics say the increased militarization of the so-called drug war will only lead to more deaths. Well, for more, we're joined now by Charles Bowden, a reporter who's extensively covered the drug violence in Mexico, author of the forthcoming book, Murder City, Ciudad Juárez and the Global Economy's New Killing Fields. His latest article for High Country News is The War Next Door, available at hcn.org. Charles Bowden joins us now on the phone from Las Cruces, New Mexico, just across the border from Ciudad Juárez. Welcome to Democracy Now!, Charles Bowden. What happened this weekend?
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure. What happened is what happens every weekend, death. What is different, or was the reason you're calling me, is because U.S. citizens were killed who worked for the consulate. It's impossible to see this as, one, an accident or ignore that it's a provocation. The actual thing to compare it to is the abduction of DEA agent Enrique Camarena in February 1985 from in front of the U.S. consulate in Guadalajara, in which he was then tortured for 30 hours, slaughtered and secretly buried, and caused an explosion in the U.S. government. Now, you have to ask yourself, given that experience, why anybody in the drug business would want to repeat it. And I don't have an answer to that, nor do I know why these people were killed or who killed them. What I do know is that on Friday, 12 people were slaughtered in Juarez, and nobody in the U.S. paid any attention. What I do know is on Saturday, there were 11 people slaughtered. 3 of them worked for the embassy. What I do know is on Sunday, there were 8 slaughtered. That Juarez is the most violent city in the world. It's breaking down for various reasons. What our response will be, I suspect, is more of the same. We'll try and shore up the Mexican military, which has been killing people in the city busily for a year now. There's hundreds of official complaints filed with the Human Rights Office in the government. And we will announce our rededication to the war on drugs, which has created the largest prison population in the world in our own country. I think one thing your listeners should realize is the president of Mexico has said repeatedly that there's no part of Mexico he doesn't control. We have proof positive of his claim today. He's arriving in Juarez for a visit. When he arrives is a secret. Where he goes is a secret. Who he sees is now a secret. That's how much control he has over his own country.
And President Obama denounced what he called the brutal murders of these people in Juarez. And what is the role of the U.S. in all of this? They have funded the so-called war on drugs in Mexico to the tune of more than $1 billion. Where does this money go, and what is the role of the Mexican military in all of this?
Well, where the money goes is mainly, if you look into it, we're selling them our hardware. This is part of our beloved military-industrial complex. That's what they get for the money. The Mexican military has historically been involved in drugs. I mean, going back decades, this is no secret. They were supervising Rancho Buffalo in Chihuahua, a huge marijuana plantation in the 70s. What we're doing is we have 3 policies that affect Mexico. One, We have the free trade agreement, which has bankrupted small farmers in the country and destroyed small industry in the country. 2, we have an immigration policy, which means a Mexican would have to live 150 years to get a visa to move to the United States, which has unleashed the largest human migration on earth. And 3, we have our war on drugs, which over the course of 40 years has made drugs in our country of higher quality, more available, and enriched a bunch of criminals in Mexico and the United States. That's our policy.
And can you paint a picture of Ciudad Juárez? How has it changed over the years?
Well, you know, what changes, this is simple. 27% of the houses in the city are abandoned. That's 116,000 units. This is in a city where people live in cardboard boxes sometimes. 10,000 businesses have given up and closed in the last year. 30,000 to 60,000 people from Juarez, mainly the rich, have moved across the river to El Paso for safety, including the mayor of Juarez, who likes to bunk in El Paso, and the publisher of the newspaper there who lives in El Paso. Somewhere between 100,000 and 400,000 people have simply left the city. A lot of the problem is economic, not simply violence. At least 100,000 jobs in the border factories have vanished during this recession and because of the competition from Asia. There's 500 to 900 gangs there. Estimates vary. So when you have and then you lay on top of it 10,000 federal troops and federal police agents all marauding. You have a city where no one goes out at night, where small businesses all pay extortion, where 20,000 cars were officially stolen last year, where 2,600 plus people were officially murdered last year, where nobody keeps track of the people who have been kidnapped and never come back, where nobody counts the people buried in secret burying grounds when they, in an unseemly way, claw out of the earth from time to time. You've got a disaster. And you have 1 million people, too poor to leave, imprisoned in it. And they're going to be the people that the Mexican army and the Mexican police will make sure the president never meets today when he descends on Juarez for his 3rd official visit. That's the city.
Charles Bowden, Hillary Clinton said last March, "We know very well that the drug traffickers are motivated by the demand for illegal drugs in the United States and that they are armed by the transport of weapons from the United States." What is your response?
Well, to start with, drugs are sold in the United States because we have customers. That Hillary Clinton doesn't think American citizens can consume substances she doesn't approve of. As far as the guns, that's an open question. What you're referring to is an ATF report, which tracked guns that have been seized in Mexico. In that report, somewhere between 20 and 40% came from the U.S. The reason we don't know where the others came from is the Mexican army, who has seized them, won't let ATF agents examine them. Now, what you have to understand is in a 6-year period, out of an army of 250,000, about 150,000 deserted. I suspect some of the boys and girls that fled the Mexican army took guns with them. If you shut down every gun shop in the United States, criminals in Mexico would still be armed.